I wanted to say my favorite scene in the last season was the scene with Terry O'Quinn and Michael Emerson with the death of Jeremy Bentham. I'm not sure if you had a part in directing.
Yeah, I directed that episode.
And I wanted you to talk a little bit about it.
In the case of that scene, that was one of those scenes where, I wanted it to look like an Edward Hopper painting, very lonely and wide. So we rehearsed the scene. Basically, we took all day to shoot that scene. Okay, it was 8 pages. And we took all day. And when you're dealing with 2 actors like Terry O'Quinn and Michael Emerson, the acting isn't the problem. They need a little tap on the shoulder here and there, which they really appreciate, but they are so great, as are most of our actors. They know what they want to do, and usually they're 100% right. In the case of that scene, I took about 40 minutes to rehearse it, which is rare in television, right? Usually you rehearse this 2-3 page scene. You rehearse it a few times with the actors. It takes 10 minutes, then you bring in the crew, and you put down the marks, and then they light. This scene we took about 45 minutes to work out. And we talked a lot about what Locke would do in the scene and where the emotion would be. It was written that he broke down earlier than Terry broke down. And Terry and I discussed the fact that he would be doing a task. Having never been in that position, thank God, or witnessed anyone in that position, I don't know what someone like that would go through, but dramatically it definitely felt like he should be just doing his shopping. And there can be some tension and frustration in the different activities. He's got a broken leg and he's dragging a table across. So basically we staged the logic of the scene, we did it a few times. I remember discovering the moment with Michael and Terry where he would get down on his knees. Michael wanted to do it earlier. And I felt it was too theatrical earlier. And I said, what happens if you get down on your knees because you're going to untie the cord? And that's your way of untying the cord, which Michael loved. So that's a good example of good collaborating between a really good idea the actor had and my instinct, which worked out. The director did one of the early Saeed flashbacks, and he's a director who's really talented, but he gets a lot of inspiration from other films. And he was looking at Ridley Scott's Black Hawk Down, which was very blue and monochromatic and brilliant. And unbeknownst to me, because we talked about it in prep, and I said, that worked for Black Hawk Down, but Ridley Scott did that, and Iraq is not blue. So the cinematographer and he went off and made it bluer than I indicated I wanted, and then we changed it early on. That's an example of trying to keep the world as natural, beautiful. Let's face it, only the cool people survived the plane crash. The schedule goes something like this. In Hawaii, we will get an outline, a breakdown of the scenes and the locations. For instance, let's say let's say it's a Saeed episode, Saeed in Berlin. We'll know that we have a couple of scenes. We'll get that probably 5 days before we get the script. And we'll know that we have to find Iraq, and we have to find an apartment that looks like Berlin. And I say, let's do Berlin in the snow. And so we know we're gonna have to snow in a street. So our location people start to give me pictures of streets that look like they could be Berlin in Hawaii, which is not easy. And we're gonna have to, okay, well, this side of Chinatown, the buildings look old, but this side looks like Waikiki Beach. So if we put some cars and we walk Saeed here, we can do a shot and we can CGI the left side, so we'll snow in the, So we begin to prep like that and get the wheels of production going. Like we know we have a big car crash sequence, so we'll begin to put that together. we'll get a feel for it. So that's about 4 days of prep. Then we get the script, which will be an early draft of the script that the actors don't get. And we continue to prep for about 4 more days. Prep is about 8 working days. Then we will do a production meeting. We'll do what we call a tone meeting on the phone, which is with usually Carlton and whatever writer has written that particular episode, where we will walk through with the director. If it's me, I'm both exec producer and director, Gene Higgins, our co-executive producer, and whoever else wants to be in the meeting, the AD, the cinematographer who's shooting that episode. We will go through it scene by scene and hear if there's anything that isn't clear from the script. They will walk us through the show. Sometimes it's really boring because they'll just basically tell you the scene that's there. You know, Sawyer and Kate kiss. Okay, well fine, I read that, that's gonna be great, let's move on. Sometimes they will tell you nuances and ideas or things that it's important that Locke have his backpack because 3 episodes from now, he pulls a knife from his backpack. So, you know, we'll hear certain things that are coming up in future episodes that are important. So prep for the director and the AD of that particular episode is about 8 days. And then we have a production meeting the day before we shoot, and then we shoot 10-day episodes. We shoot 8 days, quote unquote, with our first unit crew, and 2 extra days with our quote unquote second unit crew. On the 9th and 10th day, we have our next episode begin. And while I've been shooting that episode, the next director is prepping his episode, so they overlap. There's a bit of an assembly line thing to American television, which usually works pretty well. If the trains come off the track, everything stops, you know.
All the actors live in Hawaii for the...
All the actors live in Hawaii, but they go to LA whenever they can. And usually, Gene Higgins and the rest of that part of the team really are good about keeping track of where the actors are. But one time, season 4, I think I was shooting in London. We had a phone hookup with Sonia Walger in New York, and we were shooting in Hawaii the same day. So there are times where there are too many balls in the air for any human to keep in mind. Yeah, we don't talk about
It's probably your nightmare, I imagine. Because
well, it was JJ's nightmare on me. You should see the footage, the outtakes of that stupid polar bear jumping on this machine they made, you know, for the pilot. And there are a lot of bore issues, and wild animals is not what we do best on our show. The animals inside the characters, that's what we do great. I would say that one of the things over the years we haven't done brilliantly are the CGI effects, lots of times.
Submarine.
Ooh. There was a helicopter in Iraq that looked like a video game.
Why is that?
Why is that? Because it makes no sense, because there are other TV shows that manage to do it better. It might be a combination of the people at times we're working with, the speed with which we have to get it on the air. Maybe we're being overly ambitious, and to be perfectly honest, I just don't know. But it should be better. Once or twice our wigs and our beards aren't so good, if you've noticed.